So he unlocks the door again, and immediately he is greeted with the sight of Bloody Owens, who is on his hands and knees, basically crawling towards the door. Murders, mysteries, unexplained stories, and our family's crazy opinions on them all. Join us now. The Family School of Thought is in session.
Hey, everybody. Welcome again to this week's edition of the Family School of Thought. Hope everybody had a great week. I'm ready to get started as whenever you guys are. That means, Cassie, the weather is what?
In Ovid or in Portland?
In Portland. Did I say Ovid?
It sounded like Ovid to me.
No.
In Portland, it is
really at home, and you're not telling us.
No.
That's just a backdrop of your house, right?
Nope, this is real.
Really, the other room.
I can move things.
That's her real bedroom.
Real bedroom.
Can't be going there for a second.
I am at home. I'm not at your home.
You're at your home.
But today the weather was really nice. But that is just because we've had 100-degree weather for the past week. So it was really nice to only be 80 today.
80 today?
Yeah. And it was, we were all laughing that it was cold last night. And we actually had to wear comforters and clothes.
Well, how cold did it get down to?
Only 70.
Oh, geez.
But
are you having any
literally
effect from the hurricanes?
No, not the hurricane. But it's been. Well, I don't think we're gonna get too much of
Well,
that,
I know it's going south, but I don't know if it.
No, we've just had an extreme heat wave. Like it hasn't gone below 80 for like a week. So it's been super, super hot.
We are going to be into the 90s by this weekend. And tomorrow it's supposed to be 90s. 98, and they said over 100.
We're supposed to have thunderstorms all day tomorrow, too.
Right, but they said the heat index is going to be over 100 on the news this morning.
But we're all going to have thunderstorms.
They're never right. So,
how about up north over the weekend? What's the weather supposed to be like?
90. Well, it's supposed to be 59 at night, 87, 90 on Saturday, and 80 something on Sunday. And so it's going to be perfect weather for like being at the lake. And on Saturday, it's going to be a gorgeous day at the lake. But 59 for the low, so that's pretty chilly. Mm-hmm. So make sure you bring warm. I mean, it might be chilly for you to golf or something if you want to wear.
I think we'll figure it out.
Okay, Jess, how's the weather where you're at?
It's great.
Good.
Great.
It's always good where you're at.
It's always good. Yep.
All right. Jess, you got some facts for us to go on?
Yes, I do. So, Mental Floss, Amazing Facts calendar. Did you guys know? I think some of you guys have probably know this. Prince originally wrote Purple Rain as an instrumental track for Stevie Nicks. And she was going to write the lyrics and sing it, but she ended up finding that the task was too overwhelming, so she gave the song back to Prince.
Oh, wow.
I did not know that.
I did not know that, no.
I did not know that, no.
So then
she
is responsible for Prince's career?
Sure, I think so. Yeah.
It was for Leanna Rimes?
Mom, it's Stevie Nicks is the one that.
Okay, yeah.
Nicks she's the
Fleetwood
one that,
Mac.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know who Stevie Nicks is. Your dad.
Okay, well, you said her name was Leanna Rimes.
Well, I know, but I guess I didn't hear Stevie Nicks at first, and then when you said Purple Rain, I just was thinking Prince, but I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry.
Well, Prince is very well known for the movie Purple Rain and
the
song Purple Rain.
Right, right.
I thought that was interesting. I didn't know if you guys have ever heard that before.
Had she recorded that song, his career could have went
completely different. Right. Because really, he ended up writing Purple Rain because he just wrote the instrumental track. So it's just like the music. not the
It would have
lyrics
been a
and stuff.
completely different song.
It would have been a completely different song. And
completely different song, and
Right.
I'm sure he still would have been writing songs for other people, but probably his personally
Right.
wouldn't have.
yeah, and then because he wrote Purple Rain specifically for the movie, right? Am I right on that?
Yes,
I'm pretty sure
yes.
he did.
Yeah.
So he used
And
the tracks
The
that
movie
he
was
wrote.
wasn't really about him, but it was kind of like about him.
Yeah,
And then he wrote "Nothing Compares to You" for Sinead O'Connor.
I did know that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did know that one. Yeah.
He wrote a lot of songs for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Right.
Which
And they're
is-
all good,
It's
and they're
kind
all
of
good songs.
right, but I also think too that there's a lot of songs that are super famous that are written by other singers. Like Meghan Trainor has wrote a lot of songs that people don't realize that she
Right.
actually wrote for
Mhm.
other people. And I think what was her first All About the Bass?
Yeah.
That was
Mhm.
originally supposed to be for like Beyonce or something, and Beyonce's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I don't remember who it's for.
Right.
You shouldn't say
Whoever
that.
she wrote it for turned it down, and they just
Yeah.
said, "Well, let's record it yourself."
Yeah.
She just said something. She has a podcast, or she was on a podcast.
She has a podcast with her brother. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think she was on somebody else's podcast for this. But she said that they, like, she didn't even send out the demo. Like the recording company just found her demo of All About That Bass and
Mhm.
asked her to come in and record it.
Wow.
Oh,
So she didn't
okay.
even like send that out. Like they just found it and was like, "Oh, this is a nice
okay.
song. Like we'll just
Yeah.
record
Yeah.
this."
That's
Yeah,
kind of
she's-
cool.
I remember when she first came about, Nashville had found her, and they were going to bring her there so she could write songs.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And they came across that song, and I think they wanted somebody else to record it, like you said. And then they wouldn't, so they just said, "Well, you record it."
Yeah.
And
Right.
did.
Yeah, probably. But but that was the thing, is that she said she like the music video and that song like are very much out of her genre and her character.
Mhm.
And she said she was like very uncomfortable. Like not uncomfortable like bad, but like her wearing a dress in the music video and doing
Right.
like dancing
Right.
in the music video. She's like, I don't do that kind of thing.
Right.
Hmm.
One of these
So,
days,
yeah.
you know what we're going to do? We're going to get that video of her playing that ukulele
Yeah. It's just like
and play it
Cassie.
on this show.
Yeah.
And
Right
so,
next to
and then
Cass.
we'll ask who's the real Megan and who's the real Cass.
Mhm.
Mhm. Well, Megan is a real person, so.
Anyways,
Well, so is Cassie.
Did
So
you
that's
know?
Am I?
Did you know? I also think it's kind of unique or kind of weird. Her birthday is December 22nd, 1993.
Oh,
really?
You know
Yeah.
what? I did.
I never put
did
that
know
together
that.
either.
I
That is
did
kind
know
of
that because
strange.
Isn't that kind
somehow I came across it and I thought, oh my gosh, she was born on Jesse's birthday. But
yeah,
In-
my
in
birthday.
my
like,
birthday.
Years, yeah, Cassie's year. So
yeah,
yeah.
Interesting.
Did we talk about Cassie when we were talking about
Doppelganger. Yes.
Doppelgangers, yes.
yeah, okay. That she is definitely yours, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
All right, any more facts, Jess?
I just had one. There wasn't
just
one.
one today.
One today.
Well, that
Yeah.
one lasted
Oh,
quite a
that's
that
great.
one that one took quite a while, so
Yeah.
We like them.
it was a good one.
I know, but
Yeah.
the rest of the other one that I was going to use, I guess I can use it, is just there is an actual thing called the white coat syndrome that I think most people have heard about. Matt suffers from it very badly, but it's basically your blood pressure rises when you go into a medical facility,
Oh,
and so yeah, it's just
I was
it's-
thinking it's like people who think they know like medical facts, like or like they
No.
self-diagnose.
No, it's just when somebody goes like Matt, when he goes to the doctors, it's like he gets anxious about it. He knows, like that, what's, and so he gets anxious and his blood pressure goes up. And so when they take his blood pressure, it will typically be higher than what it is because he's anxious about
Okay.
it. So it's because you're in that clinical environment. So
Mm-hmm.
there's that. I didn't read it word for word for what it was on there, but that's something that
Good for
I
you.
tease Matt about all the time because that happens to him.
Okay. Awesome. And I'm sure you guys know that Bruce Springsteen wrote Because of the Night. Patti Smith.
No, I don't think I knew that.
He wrote
He wrote for Patti Smith.
No, he wrote it for himself. and he didn't really write all the words. It was kind of half. It was like Because the Night was in there, and the part where in the middle of the night the telephone rings, was in there. And she didn't really like the song at all because it really isn't her kind of thing. But when she heard that telephone, waiting for the telephone to ring, because at the time she had been sitting around all day waiting for her boyfriend to call. So it just struck when she did it. So she finished the song. And so really Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
I thought you guys would have known that one for sure.
No.
And you've never told me that one neither.
Well, I just figured you guys
all the times that we've went and seen Patti Smith.
Because they talk about it all the time. Bruce Springsteen, whenever they're interviewing him, they always say, "Oh, you have a song called Because of the Night," and then whenever they're interviewing her, they always bring it up. She also wrote "People Have the Power."
Okay.
I know you guys are fascinated with that fact.
Wow.
Which is made every time we have a bad president, the song comes back.
True.
Right now, Johnny Depp and that whole gang of people are staying. They're all singing that song. People have the power. Okay.
And
yeah.
everybody voted
you. You got to tell us a strange fact about a song that we're really interested in.
Well, I feel like this happens a lot when we start talking about songs before I get to my section. That like it's always like nice and like interesting, huh? And then my song is like very dark and bad, really bad. But so this is this week's song, Dad. I think you'll know it.
Oh sure! Oh my God! Of course! Yes. Did you not see the song sung live?
Yes.
Yes. We were there.
Yeah.
This is one of my most surprising concerts ever. I mean, it was such an awesome concert, and I really didn't go there to see them.
No, yeah. I don't think I knew who they were before we went to the concert. Obviously, I think I was pretty young at the time, but they put on a really good show, and they were very, very impressive. I liked them a lot.
It must have been the one in Lansing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is Stone Temple Pilots.
Aren't you so glad that you got to see him before he died?
I am.
He died to a drug overdose, I'm sure. Not long after that.
I think it was a couple years after that, but
yeah, I know. Yeah. That's not long in my world.
So this is Sex
20
Type
years.
Thing. So this is their song Sex Type Thing, and a lot of people think it's just kind of a song about talking about sex and like I know you want it, something like that. But this song is actually about Scott Weiland's girlfriend who was raped. This song has lyrics such as "You shouldn't have worn that dress," "I am a man, I'll give you something you won't forget." And then there's another one that's
an awful song.
Yeah, it's not like once you like kind of really listen to the lyrics, it's very much about basically victim blaming and basically taking something that doesn't belong to them. The lyrics, I'm sorry. It is, gosh, I lost it again. But basically along the lines of, I know that you want what's on my mind. I know that it eats you up inside. I know that you like what's on my mind. So it's very much a one-sided interaction. And Scott Weiland says that the song is not really about sex at all. It's about control, violence, and the abuse of power that comes with sex.
Another song you ruined for me.
Sorry.
No, that's and for men to think that they can rule anybody.
I'm sure the song is really about not.
It's an it's not promoting it at all. It is supposed to point out. It is supposed to point out how gross that kind of action is. He himself says this is a very much anti-rape statement. that this is not what sex should be about. It should not be about the control and the power over women.
Oh, okay, good.
So this is not a, it is very much to point out the fact that this is how some men think, and this is how, interactions can go.
It's condemning the.
Yes, it's condemning the actions and the voice.
Yeah,
right. People always,
all right, that's better.
Always want to look at All in the Family, a sitcom show that was back on probably early 70s, and it was all about Archie, who was a bigot and stuff, and they made fun of it, but it was really trying to show you a lesson, not it wasn't to make fun of black people. It was to show how dumb it is to his statements were and stuff. But
this is definitely that. It's not for rape. It is basically pointing out this is how you think, and this is disgusting kind of thing. So it's creepy in the fact that if you really listen to the lyrics, it's gross, but it is very much an empowerment of song of this is wrong.
They're one of those groups, when I hear them, I just can't wait to get back to my computer or something and listen to more of them,
Yeah, listen to the whole album.
It's like Nirvana. If you hear a Nirvana song, it's like, I gotta get home. I gotta start looking at,
I want more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, they were just a phenomenal group.
I agree.
Yeah.
But people that were playing with them, it was pretty loud. So
you were at a concert. What did you expect?
Was that the same concert we've seen the Ramones at?
Yeah.
Right. But it was such hard rock. I mean, and me, I go.
The Ramones, actually, they all of a sudden have a female lead singer because
they did then too.
No, I'm saying then they showed up at that concert with a.
Yeah.
When they were having a concert, I'm like, wait a minute, how are they going to pull this off? But actually, it was very good. They did a really good job. She was really good.
Yeah. That whole concert, it's like something Lansing puts on every summer, and it was just like the one year we went.
Woodstock.
Yeah, right.
They're supposed to be putting on another one that's supposed to be really good this year. They had a bunch of good singers
They do it every year.
Yeah.
Well, I know.
I don't think they've done it the
for a
last
little while. But
I think they've stopped for the last couple years.
This is going to be the first year that they're back after COVID.
Okay. Okay.
And I thought I'd seen on one of the radio stations or record that they were supposed to have some good people on it. I'm thinking, oh wow, that's going to be a good group. So
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Okay, Cass, we cut you off. So any more about that?
No, that's pretty much it. Kind of, it's another one of those ones where everyone kind of sings it, goes along with it, and then you look up the lyrics and you're like,
right.
Okay.
I sing this song a million times, but I never really put all the words together. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're just going with the beat.
Right.
Well,
awesome. I like it. And I'll guarantee when we get off tonight, I'm going to be listening to some Stone Temple.
As soon as I saw the Stone Temple Pilots, I was like, well, that's the song I got to do.
Well, good job.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Cassie's up. Am I right?
It is. Yep. It's
all right.
Next week.
What do you got for us this week?
All right.
So just before I didn't mean to interrupt again, but just so folks know that we are our whole purpose here is to talk about unsolved mysteries, murders, and things like that. So that's why we're always talking about these topics. That's our whole thing. That makes sense?
Yeah. Was somebody questioning that?
Well,
people that come in,
I know it's the family school of thought, but if somebody was really following us, and maybe they missed the first show when we explained it, and they're like, God, these people are downers. They're always talking about murders.
Well, I put in our intro that it is a true crime podcast. So
there you go.
I do have to, before
we make it this far.
Have you guys been hearing in the news the updates about the JonBenet Ramsey?
I have.
There's not really.
Did I not tell you?
Okay. But there's not like huge updates, but the I think it's the FBI. Now I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're saying that there is like thousands of evidence pieces that have DNA on them that have never been tested that if they just test them, they're most likely be able to find out who the murderer is.
Well, then why aren't they doing it yet?
That's what her dad is questioning. But you got to think too, John Benet Ramsey's mom passed away from cancer, right? A while ago. And, but like her dad is saying, like I saw him in a news thing saying, like I've been saying from day one that the cops didn't do their job right. They've screwed this up. So it kind of makes you wonder, a lot of it too is the cops were constantly pinning it on the parents or on the brother. And it makes you wonder, was it a cop that actually.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because they were well known. It's a small community. Was it a cop that did it? And they were, maybe their co-workers were covering up, or they knew what to do because they knew where all the evidence was. And
when I did that story, I was listening to all kinds of stuff on the internet, and there was a psychic that said, and it was current, like it was.
Mm-hmm.
When I was watching it, it had been like not even a couple weeks old. She said something's about to come with that story.
Yeah.
And they will find out who it is, and it'll be somebody they know.
Yeah.
Not like somebody that's dumb. And she didn't think, I want to say it wasn't a family member.
And that's what a lot of people were saying. Oh, we always thought it was the brother. And then it's, kind of coming forward that maybe it's not. But I want to say her dad was older when she was born, right? So I want to say he's like in his 80s now, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was older at the time.
Yeah.
Like in his 50s or something.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some news, but not really a ton of news on that one. So there's a positive.
It's just like the nun one, you know who did it, or you kind of think.
This psychic at the time, I didn't really say it because it was a psychic saying it, but she was saying that it was a guy that was known in their house. Like I said, like a construction
janitor,
somebody that was working in their house and had access.
Not a janitor, but I mean somebody that did
landscaping.
Anyways, that was just a psychic saying that too.
It's sad.
Okay, let's get on. Cass, we're not going to give you any time.
I know. I'm just going to sit here. It's fine. You guys do your thing.
Okay. And then what happened?
Don't make it depressing. Give me something good.
Well,
then when I was 17.
Yes.
I mean, it's not super.
I was going to cry after we get done.
It's not super depressing. I've been doing really sad ones, but this one's it's not sad. I don't know. This is this mysterious murder of a man in room 1046. So we'll begin on January 2nd, 1935. A young man dressed in a suit and a dark overcoat checked into the Hotel President in Kansas City, Missouri, under the name of Ronald T. Owens. He requested that he be given an interior room, and that is above ground floor. So he basically doesn't want to be anywhere where somebody can get to him off the streets, basically, or he doesn't want people to see into his room, maybe. Who knows? He just doesn't want a outside room facing, the streets.
I never knew that there was a hotel that had an inside room that you couldn't.
Well, so maybe I mean, this is 1935, and it's like basically like some of them had like courtyards, so you could have like kind of not like, but like basically like inside. Like I don't know how to explain it well, but. I don't know. And it just says inside. It just says an interior room.
Interior room. Okay.
He gave the hotel a Los Angeles address. So basically he said, I'm Roland T. Owens. I'm from blah, 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 Los Angeles. He had no luggage with him or other clothes other than what he was wearing. And the staff noted that he had a very visible scar near his temple and a cauliflower ear, which led them to believe that he was a boxer. They thought he may have been a boxer or a professional fighter. And Owens paid to stay one night, and he basically paid per night. He was given room for 1046, which was located on the 10th floor, and basically it looks over the interior courtyard. And he was taken up to the room by a bellhop that was working that night. the bellhop stated that Owens, while riding up the elevator, was basically complaining to him about the price of a hotel he had stayed at the night prior. He said it was too expensive, and that's why he was staying there instead. And the bellhop let him into the room, and he said that Owens emptied his pockets, and all that was in there was basically a hairbrush, a fine-tooth comb, a toothbrush, and that was about it. That was the extent of his unpacking. The bellhop gave him the room key and returned back to the lobby without, any instance. He said shortly after he saw Owens come down and leave the hotel. But not long after, a maid was sent up to his room, and she explained that she got up to the room, thought nobody was in there. It was, I think she says it was locked, which I guess at the time, I don't really know how hotels worked back then, but it's basically a key. Like, it's not like a key card. It was like a turn key, and it can like a skeleton key, but it could only be locked from outside. So you can't lock it while you are inside. Someone has to lock it from the outside. And so she thought nobody was in there. She opened the door, and Owens was inside, just laying on the bed. She was surprised to see him, but he basically told her, "Don't mind me, just keep cleaning." She noticed that he had all the curtains pulled closed, and she could basically only see from a very dim light that was lit inside the room. He, while she was working, basically got up again, combed his hair, and left, and told her, or asked her if she could leave the room unlocked because he had a friend coming by and he didn't want his friend to wait outside or be locked outside while he wasn't there. So she did, went on with her day, and it says later around 4 p.m., the same maid went up to room 1046 to deliver fresh towels, and she found Owens again alone in the dark room, laying on his bed fully clothed. And she said she could barely read it, but there was a little note on the bedside table that read, "Dawn, I will be back in 15 minutes. Wait." So that was January 2nd. Kind of weird, but not out of the ordinary. Kind of just a random dude. The next day, on January 3rd, the same maid was working that floor again, and she said she got up to room 1046 at about 10:30 a.m., and the door was locked. Again, this is a door that cannot be locked unless you're outside. You can't turn a lock inside and lock the door while you're in there. So assuming this meant that Owens was not in the room, she let herself in without knocking, and again, to her surprise, Owen was again inside the room, but he was sitting on the bed in a completely dark room. Again, this is 10:30 a.m., so he has all the curtains pulled, no lights on, and he is just sitting in this room. She thinks it's weird, but she's got a job to do.
Do you think that he called down to the bellhop and told him to come and lock it so that he was locked in?
We don't know.
I have a very strange thing to tell you when you get going with this story.
Okay.
So again, she begins cleaning the room. He seems odd, but she's got a job to do. But while she's in there cleaning, Owen's room gets a phone call, and when Owens answers, he begins talking to somebody on the other end, and the maid says it sounds like he calls him Don, and he says, "No, Don, I don't want to eat. I'm not hungry. I just had breakfast. No, I'm not hungry." Hangs up the phone, and then he begins talking to her. He keeps asking her about her job at the hotel. He again complains about the high prices of the hotel he stayed at prior to the hotel president. The maid answers all his questions, finishes up her job, and moves on to the next couple rooms. Again, at 4 p.m., she brings fresh towels to the room, But she says as soon as she gets up to the door, she can hear two voices inside the room talking. So she knocks on the door and says she's here to bring towels. And she hears a deep voice that was not what she remembered Owen sounding like, answering her and telling her that they do not need towels. She said this was weird because she knows she took the towels out of that room, so that they would have needed towels if they were going to shower again that night. But she moves on to the next room. They said they don't need towels, so she keeps going. 6 p.m. that day, another guest checks in. This one is named Jean Owen, apparently no relation to Ronald T. Owens. But she is checking in for the night because she was not feeling well, and she had spent all day in Kansas City and didn't want to drive home. She is given room 1048. While she was there, Owen was visited by her boyfriend at around 9:30 p.m. He left about 2 hours later, and Jean said she just basically was trying to get some rest when she heard very loud people in the hallway. It sounded like a man and a woman outside talking, using a lot of profanity, and pretty much really late into the night. She apparently was not the only one the only guest on the 10th floor to report hearing loud talking, boisterous people. A lot of reports said that it sounded like a bunch of drunk people in the hallways that night. The hotel elevator who was working that night said that it was actually a fairly busy night for the hotel. He clocked in at about midnight, so basically January 3rd to January 4th, he was working. He was taking guests up all up and down from 1:30 in the morning till I think 4, he said. And he even said that there seemed to be a very loud party happening in room 1055. He recalls a woman who is known to the hotel president's staff as someone who frequents the hotel with different male guests. So put 2 and 2 together there. He took her up to the 10th floor where she claimed to be meeting a friend. She was only up there for a couple minutes before she called the elevator again. When he got up there, she explained that her friend who had invited her up to the 10th floor, it doesn't say which room, wasn't answering his door, which was very odd. She said he always answered the door whenever he invited her there. And she said she may have gotten the room incorrect. She stayed up on the 10th floor, and about 3 a.m., she called to the elevator again. She rode down to the lobby, left the hotel, returned at 4:15, and was taken up to the 9th floor with a different man. She went somewhere else, basically. She came back down, left, and then the second man she went to go see that night left about 15 minutes after her, and basically claimed that he couldn't sleep and was just going to take a walk around the hotel, but it's never said if he comes back to the hotel or not. So now, again, this is the same night, basically January 3rd, outside of the hotel, Robert Lane, who was a city worker, was driving home at about 11 p.m., and he says a man who was basically only in an undershirt and underpants ran out into the middle of the road, flagged him down, and when he stopped for the man, the man asked Lane, like, "Are you a taxi?" He said no. He apologized and basically said, "Do you need me to take you somewhere? Like, I can give you a ride somewhere," and agreed to help the man and drive him to an area where he knew a lot of taxis were active. Once the man got into Robert Lane's car, Lane noticed that he had a long scratch on his arm. He was bleeding, and it looked like he had been in a fight. Lane asked the man about what happened, and all the man seemed to say was an offhand comment about retribution and revenge. Lane thought it was weird, dropped the man off, and basically took off, went home. When he's later asked about it, Robert Lane identifies the man who was in his car as Robert T. Owens. So Robert T. Owens was at one point outside of the hotel that night.
In his underpants and a t-shirt.
And looking like he had been in a fight. So now we're into January 4th, the morning of January 4th, 7 a.m. A switchboard operator clocks in and begins making requests for wake-up calls. And she gets to room 1046, and she sees that there's a request to get a wake-up call, but she notices that the light for the room on the phone is on, which means that the phone is off the hook. But she can't hear anybody online, so she thinks that it's basically just accidentally left off the hook. So she tells a bellhop to go up to the room and ask them to put the phone on the hook. So this is actually the bellboy who first took Owens up to his room. So he goes up to the room and knocks on the door. Again, it is locked, but with a do not disturb sign on the door. Bellboy seems to knock anyway. He says he knocks several times very loudly, but gets no answer from inside. He doesn't have a key to get in the room, so he basically knocks a couple more times. And he says he hears a voice inside the room answer him and tell him to just come in. And the bellboy says, "I can't get in, the door's locked." So he just kind of keeps knocking, and he's not really getting too much of a response again. And so he just basically tells the guest, Owens, he yells to the door, "Put your phone on the hook. Just put your phone on the hook." And goes back downstairs, so there's not really much he can do. He told the switchboard operator that the guest was probably just really drunk or hungover, and they kind of let it go up until 8:30 a.m., about an hour and a half later, when the phone is still off the hook. So another bellboy is sent up. Again, he says the door's locked, there's a do not disturb sign. He knocks on the door. He knocks on the door. Again, nobody answers. But this time he has brought a key. This is a different bellboy, so he brought a key and decides to enter the room. When he enters the room, it's completely dark, and Owens is lying on the bed, naked, and there seems to be some kind of dark smudge on the bed sheets around him. But it's dark, they can't see very well. They think he just is drunk, maybe he threw up in the bed, who knows. So the bellboy just goes over to the bedside table and replaces the phone back on the receiver, leaves, says, "Have a good day, see you, sir." 2 hours later, at around 10:30 a.m., the phone is again off the hook, but no one seems to be talking on the line. So again, the bellboy is sent back up. This is the second bellboy who entered the room. He is sent back up. Again, the door is shut. He knocks on the door, but gets no answer. So he unlocks the door again, and immediately he is greeted with the sight of bloody Owens, who is on his hands and knees, basically crawling towards the door. The bellboy turns on the lights in the room, and immediately he notices that there's not only blood on Owens, there's blood on the walls, the floors, and on the bed. So the bellboy, freaking out, runs downstairs to get help from his assistant manager. And they both run back up to the room, but by the time they get up to the room, Owens has basically moved in front of the door, so he is blocking the entrance. They keep asking him to move, but they're not really getting much of a response from him. And so they kind of have to kind of scoot him in, and they enter the room. And as soon as they enter the room, Owens gets up and moves into the bathroom and sits on the edge of the bathtub. His hands and legs are bound with a cord, as well as there's a cord around his neck. A doctor arrives shortly after and notices that there is extensive bruising around his neck, which is suggesting that somebody tried to strangle him. There's multiple stab wounds into Owen's chest, around his heart. One of the blows even punctured a lung. There's an extreme blow to the side of his head, which caused his skull to fracture. And when they ask Owens what happened, who did this to you, he replies, nobody. So the doctor then says, well, did you try to kill yourself? And Owens answers, no. He says he simply fell and hit his head on the bathtub. Shortly after giving this answer, he loses consciousness, and they take him to the hospital, but unfortunately, he is pronounced dead shortly after 12 in the morning on January 5th. So, this unfortunately is strange, but not where the story stops, because now it is about finding out who is Ronald T. Owens. The police find evidence and all this stuff in his room, and they need to identify him. So they call the Los Angeles Police Department because that is where he says he's from. They try to relay the news of his death to next of kin, but they are told that no one under the name of Ronald T. Owens is registered as a citizen of LA. So, they take his fingerprints to the Bureau of Investigation in hopes that a match will come back. They also run an ad in the local newspaper in hopes that somebody will recognize him. This is when Robert Lane, who met the man in the streets, comes forward and identifies him as someone who was clearly in a fight that night, was talking about getting revenge, and was obviously discombobulated. So now they have sightings of him. Somebody else says that they saw him at a liquor store with two women blocks away from the hotel. And then they check, so because the maid and the busboys say that Owens talked about another hotel, they go to the other hotel and ask if Roland T. Owens stayed there, and they said no, nobody under the name of Roland T. Owens stayed at the hotel, but a man under the same description did check in, but he said his name was Eugene K. Scott, and that he also lived in LA. So now they have another alias. The Kansas City Police Department tries again to basically call the Los Angeles Police Department and say, do you have a resident under the name of Eugene K. Scott? But again, they get no leads or possible identities of this man. So, it's basically the case kind of goes dead for a while because there's nothing that they can really do. They keep Owens's body in the funeral parlor for a while in hopes that they'll identify him, but they get nothing up until March 3rd, 2 months after his death. The funeral home that his body had been staying received a call from an unknown caller asking them to postpone the funeral so that they could send the funeral home money for the expenses. When the funeral home asked the relation to the man, the caller simply stated that he knew him because the man, Ronald T. Owens, had been caught cheating, and cheaters usually get what's coming to them. And that's all that he will say about how he knows Ronald T. Owens. The funeral home did receive an envelope that contained money for the funeral expenses, but it has no return address or identity for the man. And I think they said it was like $500, which back in 1935 would have been a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they received 2 more cards addressed to basically, I think it says like man in the funeral home or something like that. It doesn't give a name, but they knew it was for him. Both cards have money in them, and one has a note saying "Love forever, Louise." The man's funeral is held on March 23rd, and no one other than the Kansas City Police Department attend the funeral. They even said that they stalked out the grave for a few nights in hopes that somebody might come by and sit at the grave or come see him, but nobody ever visits. Nobody ever goes to the grave.
Yeah.
And then, so they keep running. Basically, they keep running this ad, running this story about this unidentified man. They give it to other departments to run in different states. And in November of that year, a friend of a Ruby Ogletree in Birmingham, Alabama, shows her an article of someone that she says bore a great resemblance to one of her 3 sons. And Ruby agrees. Ruby gets a hold of the Kansas City Police Department and is able to positively identify the man's descriptions. She even identifies the scar that the staff saw near his temple and gives an explanation of an accident when he was a child and hot grease dripped down onto his face. So, now the man has been positively identified as Artemus Ogletree, who left home the year prior, and he was hitchhiking from Alabama to California. When Ruby explains to the police that this is her son, she says, but I didn't believe it at first because somebody has been corresponding to me claiming to be my son since he died. So she didn't even know he was dead because somebody had been writing letters to her saying that it was her son. She received multiple letters, one in early 1935 claiming that he was in Chicago, 2 came from New York, one even claimed that he was leaving for Europe, and it gave information of what ship he was going to leave on. And then in August, somebody claiming to have known Artemus and that was saying Artemus saved his life, called her and said that your son can no longer contact you because he's going to be moving and living in Cairo, Egypt. And the person on the phone explained to her that her son Artemus was getting married to a wealthy woman in Cairo and he was going to live there. And he said that Artemus could no longer contact her because he had lost a finger in the fight that apparently he saved the caller's life on. Ruby said she talked to the man for about a half hour, and he seemed very irrational, very wild. And that's basically the last time she heard of her son being alive. But again, he's died. This is August. He died in January. So she has no idea who this man is. He says he's calling from Memphis, Tennessee. And when the police check to see if there's any records of an Artemus getting on a boat to go to Cairo, Egypt, nobody under the name of Artemus Ogletree seems to have left the country, seems to have gotten on any of the ships, even the ship that the letter claimed he was on. And so nobody really knows to this day what happened to Artemus Ogletree, why he was living under the name, like an alias, why he was moving around, who was the Don he was talking to and had in his room. and who was contacting his mother after his death. So that is the mysterious death of Artemus Ogletree in room 1045 or 1046.
Wow.
Yeah, that's super weird.
That's strange.
Yeah. So some theories, though. Obviously, one that is very common is that Artemis got involved in the mob. A common term for a mob boss is Don.
Mm-hmm.
It would explain why he was using aliases, and why he was moving from hotel to hotel. Another theory is that a man in 1937, so about 2 years later, was arrested in New York for killing a man he was sharing a hotel room with. This man also had multiple aliases, one of them being Donald Kelso. The Kansas City Police Department said that the man was writing samples. He said the man's writing samples matched those of the letters written to Ruby after Artemis's death, and he put the body of the man he killed in the trunk of his car and tried to drive to Memphis. So again, this connects to Memphis, Tennessee, which is where the caller was said he was calling from. No formal charges, though, were brought against the man for Artemis's death because they couldn't really find any concrete evidence that he knew Artemis. And then the last theory is basically the man named Don, who killed Artemis, was involved with Artemis's supposed fiance, and that Don killed Artemis to basically because he wronged the fiance, and the fiance hired him to make a hit on her cheating fiance, and that the female prostitute who was at the hotel that night basically was there to set up and catch Artemis in the act of cheating.
Ooh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's about all I got. I do find it mysterious that mom and dad just switched cameras, though.
I know. I was thinking the
I
same
don't know
thing.
I don't know if that was on purpose or.
My thing, listening to you, the staff members were hearing different voices, but like the door was locked. Did he have a split personality, and he actually murdered himself, trying to murder one of his personalities?
Well, that's what I was thinking too.
Possible, but again, the biggest clue that it was somebody else was that the door was locked, because he couldn't have locked himself into the room.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
So somebody else had to have locked him in the room. That's what I find suspicious, is that...
Yeah, was it somebody in the hotel staff that... Because who you would think that if the hotel staff has to lock you into your room, that somebody would know.
Yeah.
Oh, I locked the door at this time of night or whatever.
Yeah. No, it seems to be the kind of consensus is that whoever this Don is that he was talking to was keeping him in the room, and that he was basically going along with it, but he didn't have a choice whether or not he was in the room.
So I also find it kind of weird that it was dark in the room the whole time. Like, why wouldn't the staff turn on the light?
Well, I can kind of see that. Like, even now when you go to a hotel and you're in the room, like, if you have the lights off, I don't think they turn the lights on.
When they're cleaning the room or something?
I don't know. I guess I'm not usually there when they clean the room, so I don't know.
Yeah. That's I can see where oh, hey, I want the lights off or whatever. But at that point, wouldn't the staff be like, okay, I'll come back later?
Yeah, I don't know.
But the mother did identify him.
Yeah, so the man known as Roland T. Owens was positively identified as Artemus Ogletree. She even had pictures of him to show, and it was the same man. So his alias of Ronald T. Owens was not real.
Well,
and they've never figured out who was writing to his mom then.
No, so that's another thing is they never found out. Nope. why. Well, they think it was whoever it was the person who murdered
Yeah.
Artemis. And either they had a guilty conscience or they just didn't want people to know that Artemis was dead because I'm sure they thought his mom would be looking for him if the second she knew he was missing or he wasn't writing back to her. And so they wanted to give themselves time. And even telling her that he is going to Cairo, Egypt is basically giving an excuse of why he's not writing back to her.
Mm-hmm. That is interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. And what I don't get all the alias names. I mean, why was everybody why was he using a alias name?
They don't know. They don't know why he was using different aliases at different hotels, why he seemed to be jumping from hotel to hotel.
Do you think that
it seemed like he was I think to the staff and maybe even to the cops, it seemed like he was hiding from somebody.
Or he probably
that's why
was
he didn't want to.
A person that went from town to town conning everybody.
Right.
That too. Could be a con artist.
And then
And then he got
somebody
caught.
caught up with him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or he conned the wrong person. And maybe that's with the mafia too. Where he conned the mafia not knowing who he was conning, and they weren't too happy about it.
That's
right.
True.
Yeah. That's something.
And it seems odd that he wouldn't. The thing is that he doesn't say who killed him. He doesn't, even when they ask him, like, who did this to you? Like, you've clearly been attacked. He says, nobody. So he is trying to hide whoever attacked him.
Right.
He's trying
protecting
them. Yeah.
Okay, go back. You started the story with...
There's no real girlfriend. So there's no hard facts other than this idea that he was called a cheater. Nobody knows who the fiance is. Even the letter from Louise, nobody can figure out who Louise is. So even the fiance is not really a thing.
Do you think that maybe he was gay and he was?
That's what I was thinking too, and it was a Louis, not a Louise.
Maybe,
or a Louis. You know.
Back in
no, it is spelled. It's spelled with an e at the end, so it is Louise.
I know, but
if it could be
back in 1935, it's not acceptable. So they're like, "Oh, we'll just call you Louise."
Right.
I mean,
right. So that I'm saying, in 1935 to be gay.
It could be, but then who's
and then
attacking him?
The guy, he said he was going to come forward, or found out that he was cheating with another guy, or
Could be. It could be.
That's. How about you started out the story and you said something said wait.
He had a letter that said, Dawn, I'm going to be gone for 15 minutes. Wait. So wait for me to come back.
Last night I had a dream where somebody was holding up a sign that said wait.
Huh.
And my dream was like, wait for what? What does that mean? Like, what are you trying to say? And it was like, that's all it said was wait. And there was no explanation of it. So when you started the story, I'm like, oh, well, this is what it's going to be about.
Yeah, that's it.
That would be my answer, but it doesn't feel like it solved it.
Didn't give you an answer.
No.
Don't wait for somebody named Don, is what your dream is telling you. If you know somebody named Don, don't wait for them.
I know a guy named Don. I'll go in tomorrow and say, just so you know, I'm not waiting for you. Well, that's interesting.
That is a really interesting story.
Now, where'd you come about this story?
I've heard it a couple times through true crime podcasts, mystery podcasts, and I can't remember why. I was looking for something to do this week, and I think it popped up or something. I can't even remember. And I was like, oh yeah, I really like this story. I'm just gonna do this one. There wasn't really like a big reason of why I did this one at this time. I just found it.
It definitely is interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think this guy was haunted? Do you think that was something too, where he was possessed, or something along those lines where
I do really like the theory of multiple personalities, but
yeah
it doesn't explain the door. Like the door
yeah
is
the door being
I think
locked.
the door is the biggest key of the story, is who is
But
locking him
if
inside the room.
Most people that, well, I don't know, I don't really have any experience with multiple personalities and stuff, but I don't think that they know when like a personality takes over, the other personalities are not present, so they're not conscious. So what if a personality took over and called down to the front desk and said, "Hey, come up and lock my door, it's unlocked." And then he comes back, and maybe this what Ronald T. Owen is one of his personalities, because usually people with multiple personalities have different names for each personality. That's my
Right.
theory, and I'm gonna stick to it.
But he wouldn't have called the front desk and said, "Come up."
Yeah.
They would have figured that out when
they would have noticed.
Told me to come up here and lock the door.
Right.
Right. And then his mother would have said he had psychological problems.
Well, maybe she didn't realize it.
Well, it's possible she didn't realize it, but it sounded like he had just. It sounded like he had only left home a year prior. It wasn't like he had been gone for a long time.
Right.
I bet he was able to lock the door from the inside. Like maybe it wasn't made to do it that way, but he figured out a way to
maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I found it weird. Like that's the weirdest part of the story is like what hotel what doors like didn't lock from the inside? Like what was
that's what I was thinking too. That's a weird thing. Like to me, what if the hotel catches on fire? You can't unlock your door to get like you're stuck in your room.
But also like when I'm asleep at a hotel, my door better be locking. I don't want anybody to come in while I'm in the room. Well, yeah,
but you're locking it from the inside. That's the thing. Yeah.
Right.
And it's weird that you have the staff
the other way.
Yeah.
It's a lot of trust you have to put in other people.
And I don't
trust especially an inside room with no windows.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, it has windows, but it only faces the courtyard.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
I don't
was there a fire escape then too?
So that's another thing. That's another thing where people think that he was hiding from somebody, and that's why he didn't want a room that faces like the street or at ground level where somebody could get into his room.
But being 10 stories high, you would not be able to get into that hotel room.
Well, you could with the fire escape or something, no?
Yeah.
I say he was a con man going from town to town, and now he's done enough that they're following him. And
and maybe Don was his partner, but his partner turned him in or something.
But somewhere there's going to be a UFO in this story.
I'm thinking that the mafia.
It's aliens. That's the story. Is
I'm sticking with the multiple personalities. That's the thing that sticks out with me. I don't know that you can't answer the questions that are concerning to you. I'm sticking with the multiple personalities because that to me that makes sense too. Like, well, who did this to you? Nobody. I did it to myself.
But that tells me it's somebody who's fearing for their life. If I say they're going to kill me and kill my mother or kill my family, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that happens all the time. Where you're being threatened by the mafia or people, then you never disclose who it is that's chasing you because the consequences would be worse.
Right. I'm sticking with the personalities.
I'm sticking with the con man.
I'm sticking with the mafia.
I know a guy named Louis. I bet he was involved in this.
Yeah. I bet he was. He would have been around in 1935.
No, he wouldn't have been around.
Still to this day do not know what happened to Artemus Ogletree at the President Hotel. 1935.
Isn't there a TV show that's like room 1046 or something like that? It's like
there might be,
and it's like I don't think it really. I don't think it really revolves around this case, but it's like a haunted room.
Paranormal,
Well, like every week, a different thing happens.
Yes,
in there. Maybe a suicide or a drug overdose.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, I did just look up Ronald T. Owen multiple personality disorder, and nothing came up.
Look Look
Well,
up
Artemus
Michael T. Owen con man.
No, Artemus Ogletree. Because Artemus Ogletree is his real name.
Right,
That's the real
right.
person. So put Artemus Ogletree, multiple personality. Try that first.
Okay, say the name again. Artemus
Artemus
Artemus.
Ogletree.
Alexa, who is? I forgot.
Artemus Ogletree.
Yeah, nothing's coming up under that name too, but I bet you, yeah. I mean, that's the first thing that like popped in my head when you were talking. But
Or the staff is all in on it.
yeah,
And
right.
basically killing hotel guests.
Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing anything for con man either.
Well, obviously, the woman who keeps going to these rooms is a Bible salesman.
Yeah. That's all it is.
Or
so he was only 17 when he left Alabama in 1934. So he was only 18 years old. When all of
So
this
he was
happened.
in the, yeah. Oh my gosh.
He
So
was
he was
super
a
young when this
kid.
happened.
That's crazy.
What about his cauliflower? No, I mean ear.
His ear.
He could have been a fighter. It didn't say anything about that, but it sounded like he had 3, or he was
he was
I
a
think
Jehovah's
the youngest.
Witness.
He was the youngest of 3 boys, so it was probably just rough housing. And he got the scar from an accident, so it was probably just,
Yeah, you know how the youngest always gets scarred by the other older 2.
Mm-hmm.
I bet they rolled him up in a mattress and threw him down the stairs.
Yeah.
No, never. Yeah, that is kind of weird too. The cauliflower ear. That's a weird thing.
Well, I mean
like,
it's common in boxers because they get hit in the face a lot, but it's not like it only happens. It's anytime your ear gets hit with enough pressure to fill up with fluid.
But typically it's from like repetitive.
Yeah.
Getting hit and breaking cartilage
multiple times.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny how his mother didn't describe his childhood, or you don't know of anything.
They may have.
Yeah, she may have, but it's probably irrelevant to the story.
Right.
So.
Because even the cauliflower ear, like it's not really relevant to the story. It was just relevant to identifying
who he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe he was born with a cauliflower ear, just a deformity.
Where did the story take place?
So this was in Kansas City, Missouri, which I actually just recently found out.
Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas.
Yes, but did you know they're literally like right next to each other?
Yeah,
like, they're literally just over the state line. I don't know why.
It's like a big city that's just the border
cut into 2.
Yeah.
I don't know why I felt like I was like I mean it makes sense that it's just one big city and then the border cuts, but I don't know why. But I was thinking that they were like not like who's like, you know what, I'm gonna name it Kansas City. You know what, I'm gonna name it Kansas City too.
No, yeah, I always think of it as like it's one big city, but then it's split down the border of the.
I don't know why. Like I was looking at a map, I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess like it's like all clicking together. But he was in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, so that's like one place in the United States that if you want to drive to 2 different states but remain in the same city, there you go.
Or Vancouver. It's Vancouver, Washington, and it's Vancouver, Canadian.
Canada. But it is like so.
But they're separated.
They're like separated by the entire state. So I live 5 minutes from Vancouver, Washington, but it's about 6 hours to get to Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah.
Ovid, Michigan, and Ovid, New York.
Yes, but the
thing is that they literally are right next to each other.
They're like next to each other. It's just
the same. It's the same city.
Paris, Texas, and Paris, Canada.
I know, but we're talking
Paris,
about
France.
States
Paris, France.
that hold the same city. 2 states that hold the same city, Ted.
Mom, he's just fucking with us.
Oh my stars.
Sorry. I used profanity.
We are an adult show.
Oh
That's all
my.
I got. That is the mysterious death
That is
of
a.
Artemus Ogletree.
That's
I kind of agree with you too. Like he's got to be a con artist or something along those lines where he conned the wrong person and
Right.
then
Yeah.
he was trying to hide and
Yeah.
He
And
shows up in
Kansas-
town, and these people just kind of are following him.
Mhm.
I guess I didn't know this either, but Kansas City, Kansas or Missouri is it's got a lot of mob activity
Yes.
in the city. So that's another indication that maybe the mob
That
was
Kansas City,
involved.
Missouri, or
Yes.
Oh,
He was a cocky kid and got mixed up with the wrong people.
yeah, maybe. Or maybe he was a fighter and he threw a fight
Right.
and
right.
they told
yeah,
him to lose and he won a fight.
that could be
Right there.
too.
Yeah.
That could really be. Maybe
And
he
that's
was
why
meant to
he
throw a
was-
fight and didn't, and so he's running.
Yeah, and maybe whoever like they lost a lot of money. So,
Mhm.
and if there is a theory with the mafia being involved, maybe that's what it all kind of comes down to is he didn't throw the fight like he was throwing.
Pissed off the wrong person.
Right.
That makes sense. See?
And it could explain
just-
why he was outside the hotel and he was swearing revenge on whoever
Mhm.
attacked him.
Yeah. Crazy.
That is crazy.
I have a question though too. So 1935, obviously there was a phone, but wouldn't it have been like a switchboard type of
That's what they meant.
phone?
That's what they kept asking to go get his phone back on the line because they could hear everything that was happening and they could hear that nobody was
Oh.
on the line, but it was off the hook.
Gotcha. Okay. I was thinking, beep, beep.
No, the switchboard operator kept noticing that it was off the hook, but she couldn't hear anybody talking on the
Gotcha.
line.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
that's
interesting.
strange.
It is kind of strange. What I think is kind of strange, though, I mean, we have people that disappear or, die in mysterious ways like every day, but we don't hear about it that much.
Right.
I don't know, because I feel like this is kind of a common thing for hotels. Because,
Yeah.
If you think Eliza Lamb,
Mm-hmm.
she mysteriously died in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
There was, I can't remember her name, but there was a young woman who is seen on a camera footage very drunkenly stumbling through a hotel, and then she's not found until the next morning in the hotel freezer, dead, and they don't know
Yeah,
what
I
happened to
remember
her.
Yeah.
So this is kind of something that happens quite a bit in hotels, and we just kind of
Seedy hotels.
Yeah, the CD.
well, yeah.
Yeah, that one, the freezer one, though.
Maybe
isn't that one? The theory is really that she was drunk and just like stumbled into the kitchen and got
Well,
herself
that
into the
was
freezer
what
and
they
stuff.
basically tried to say, but it wasn't like it was one of those things where it's like nothing was adding up with that because, and I actually
that's right.
think,
Yeah,
I
because like
think
the
they
video
actually
footage
found,
wasn't really.
yeah, they kept giving like edited versions of the footage, and they're like,
Mhm.
where's the full version of this footage? Like, what?
Yeah.
Who's on the footage? And I think I might be incorrect on this one, but I think they did solve it in that it was somebody who worked at the hotel.
Right.
But I
It kind
I
of
don't remember.
reminds me, and I can't remember the lady's name. She was on a cruise with her family,
Yeah.
and I can't remember her name. But then she like all of a sudden like went missing on this cruise, and they thought, oh, did she fall overboard? Because they were all out drinking and having a good time, and everybody went to bed. And I think she was sharing a room with her brother or something like that. And kind of a similar situation. And I don't think that they've ever really solved what happened to her, but she was dancing.
No, they did. I don't know what it was, but again, it was a worker.
That's it.
Worker.
Yeah.
It was the worker who had multiple instances of complaints about him being inappropriate with guests.
Oh.
And I can't remember if he threw her over or what, but he did. They figured out that he killed her.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, because I say I know that there was video footage of her like dancing and hanging out with a worker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was him.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess the lesson that everybody should know is don't go up by yourself. Don't check into a hotel room by yourself. Don't answer the door if you're by yourself.
Yeah. Stay alert. Stay alive.
And don't drink. Oh man. That is, I don't know. There are so many stories too about just, especially women. You know, it's mostly women, but just like, oh, poof, and they're gone.
Yeah.
So, aliens.
So, why did you guys switch?
Because Dad was too hot.
Oh,
It looks nice and cool in the beach there, but it is really muggy.
Mm.
This
So
is
why did
breezy. This is real breezy here.
Oh, okay. You could have. So you mean Mom go sit in there? You guys couldn't share a camera?
Has your mother ever not been cold?
I said we need to switch the rooms because it's always cold out there and I'd freeze him to death. And he always complains that it's hot in here.
well, just, sit in the library.
Mm-hmm.
The library.
Or, your own room.
Yeah.
You don't have to use a green screen if you sit in your own room.
I know. I could just go up in our own bedroom.
I'm actually, no.
You're in your
Especially now that I know you guys switched, that was easy enough.
I was trying to get him to just take his computer out there and my computer in here, but he wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I'm actually in my office, but as Danielle pointed out earlier today before I had my backdrop on, I have a gumball machine behind me.
I know.
And you can see out my window, and I'm always terrified. I mean, I have shades now, but I'm always terrified that I'm gonna
Somebody's gonna be in that
watching
picture.
the video, seeing that and seeing somebody look in the window at me.
So you'd rather not know?
As we're doing this, we see somebody looking in your window.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would rather see them than not know that they're behind
That's
me.
me too. That's why I always have.
I would rather know that they're
because
there.
I want to see the person. I don't want them peeking through.
No,
no, thank you.
If the curtains are closed, then I can't see that person.
If the curtains are closed, they can't see me.
Yeah, but they can be peeking through and stuff.
No.
But if they're open, obviously they're not going to stand there because obviously you're right in front of me.
People need to respect boundaries.
Boundaries. Or you
Don't
end up
touch
in
somebody
room
you don't know.
1046,
Yes.
stabbed to death.
Don't touch somebody you don't know. Think about what you're doing.
That's what he
before
was
you do it.
mumbling about on the other side of that door. He's like, boundaries, boundaries.
Yeah.
Anything to add to Cassie's story? Dee, you're being awful quiet.
freaking.
Oh, you got your feet in the water right now?
Mm-hmm.
Toes in the sand.
Yeah.
Cold beer in your hand.
It looks like it probably cooled off there a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Good. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Check us out at the Family School of Thought at gmail.com. Like us, share,
Subscribe.
Comment.
Find us on.
We've got a few comments, so we're getting.
I noticed we're getting
Yes.
some comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you for your comments. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Give us more comments. Give us some suggestions. More suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Write to us.
I'm always looking for something to look up.
Yeah, you
A
got
topic.
2 weeks before you gotta need a topic, so
Help me out, somebody.
get on that.
Okay, guys. We'll see you next week. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.